songs that dominated the 90s?
Cruise too much, I lose too much. Step on stage, the girls boo too much.
12 tracks you know every word to.
The label that pays me, unfadable, so please don't try to fake this.
But here's what the industry didn't tell you. The voices you heard weren't always the voices that wrote them.
But they get they strap, so what's up, black?
Chill, let's hit a deal.
The hooks that became anthems.
I'll be burning, burning hot. Whoa, ho, ho. Let me like slow up with the flow.
Sometimes sung by someone who never got credit. The verses that made careers.
They receive you on. Still can't believe you gone. Give anything to hear half your breath.
Written in somebody else's bedroom. You know the hits.
Don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention.
But you don't know who really built them. And some of these names are gonna hurt.
Now I got a cousin by the name of Von Lee. Better known to y'all as Kamasi.
Number 12. Mo Money, Mo Problems, the uncredited voice that made the hook immortal. March 1997. Biggie's gone, but Life After Death drops anyway. And Mo Money, Mo Problems becomes the second posthumous number one. You remember that hook, that Diana Ross sample flipped into something entirely new. But here's what most people still don't know. That voice singing, I don't know what they want from me, wasn't Diana Ross. It was Kelly Price, an unknown R&B singer who'd been grinding in the background for years. Puff brought her in to re-sing the hook, make it fresh, make it current, and she delivered one of the most recognizable choruses in hip-hop history.
Nigga double up, we don't play around, it's a bet, lay it down, niggas didn't know me 91.
Her vocals are all over that record, but when the credits rolled, nothing. No feature credit, no writing credit, just her voice carrying a song to number one while her name stayed invisible. And here's the thing that still doesn't sit right. This wasn't some small indie release. This was Bad Boy Records at their peak.
Clean, triple beam, miracle dream. I be that. Catch a seat at all events.
The biggest machine in hip hop. They had the budget, they had the lawyers. They could have put her name on there. But in 1997, background singers were just tools. Use the voice, bury the name, move on to the next hit. Kelly Price would eventually get her shine. Friend of mine with her name front and center, Grammy nominations, platinum albums.
The same old pimp, Mase, you know ain't nothing changed but my limp. Can't stop.
But in that moment, when Mo Money, Mo Problems was defining the sound of summer 97, she was invisible. And if you were riding with the windows down, playing that hook on repeat, you never knew her name, the industry made sure of that.
City lights down in Times Square. Yeah.
Number 11. Nothing but a G thing, the voice that couldn't rap anymore, but still wrote the blueprint.
Now it's time for me to make my impression felt. So sit back, relax, and strap on your seat.
1992, D.R.E's building The Chronic, the album that would change West Coast hip-hop forever, and right there in the middle of it, Nothing But a G Thing, the song that introduced Snoop to the world, the track that made G-Funk a movement. Clean drums, melodic synths, laid-back flow, perfect.
I have to put the smack down, yeah, and you don't stop. I told you I'm just like.
But here's what they don't tell you. Dre didn't write his own verse, the Doc did, and here's where it gets painful. 2 years earlier, the Doc was supposed to be the next big thing out of the West. No One Can Do It Better dropped in '89 and he sounded unstoppable. Then came the car accident, November 1989, crushed his larynx, destroyed his voice. The career was over before it really started.
Never been on a ride like this before. With a producer who can rap and control the mic.
So Dre brought him into the studio, not to rap, to write, and Doc gave him bars, including that line, like my nigga Doc, no one can do it better. A self-congratulatory shout-out buried in someone else's verse. That's all the credit he got, his name in the lyrics, while Dre's voice delivered words Doc would never get to perform himself.
The lecture at hand. Perfection is perfected, so I'ma let them understand.
And you know what's crazy? The Doc kept riding all through the Chronic, Eazy-E's solo work. He became one of the most valuable ghostwriters in the industry, but every time you heard his words, it was coming out of someone else's mouth.
Showing much flex when it's time to wreck a mic, pimping hoes and clacking a grip like.
The voice that could have been one of the greatest got reduced to the pin behind the throne. That's not a trade anybody wants to make. But sometimes the industry doesn't give you a choice.
Don't see, no one can do it better like this, that, and this, and it's like that.
Real talk. only 9% of you watching this are actually subscribed. That hurts a little, not gonna lie. We spend hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life because this music deserves to be remembered. And you're here because you care about that too. So if these videos mean something to you, if you've ever said, damn, I didn't know that, or felt something while watching, just hit subscribe. It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it tells YouTube to show this to more people who love this music like we do. Let's build this together. All right, back to the story. Number 10, Deep Cover, the debut single where the rookie wrote the legend's first line.
Boys recognize my face, cause he's a shiesty motherfucker. But I gives a fuck.
April 1992, Dr. Dre's first solo single after N.W.A. breaks up. Deep Cover, the song that introduced Snoop Dogg to the world. And it's a monster. Dark, cinematic, different from anything Dre had done before.
7 on an undercover car. 6:05 was the time on the clock when.
But here's the story nobody tells. Dre hated the record at first, didn't want to perform it, didn't connect with it. So when it came time to write his verse, he turned to the young kid he just met through Warren G, the unknown Long Beach rapper who was still trying to prove himself, Snoop Dogg.
Tonight's the night I get in some shit. Yeah. Deep cover on the.
Dre told Snoop what he wanted his opening line to be, deep cover on the incognito tip, and Snoop took it from there, wrote the entire verse in Dre's bedroom, the legend's comeback verse, written by a kid who hadn't even released a record yet, and that's how it went down.
Straight to the motherfucking source and see what we can find. Crooked ass cops.
The most important solo debut of Dre's career, and the verses came from a 20-year-old nobody. Snoop even wrote his own parts, obviously. But that opening, that's Dre performing Snoop's words. The irony is perfect. The song that was supposed to prove Dre could stand alone after N.W.A. was actually proof that he'd found the next great writer.
Man, that's you. I guess that's part of the game. But I feel for the nigga who think he just.
And Snoop, he went on to become one of the biggest names in hip-hop, but that moment, sitting in Dre's bedroom, writing the verse that would launch both their careers, that's the origin story they don't talk about. The kid writing for the legend, and both of them knowing this was the beginning of something massive.
On they team and chill with me and make my pockets bigger. They wanna meet with.
Number 9. Return to the 36 Chambers when your cousins wrote your classic album.
Niggas be quiet as cat. Now you know nothing before you know a whole blood.
March 1995. Old Dirty Bastard drops Return to the 36 Chambers, the second Wu-Tang solo album after Method Man's Tikal. And it's exactly what you'd expect from ODB. Chaotic, brilliant, unpredictable. The man was a force of nature.
Slacking on your back because raw's what you lack. You wanna react? Bring it on back.
But here's what Method Man revealed years later in a Complex interview. The majority of the verses on that album are old RZA rhymes and GZA rhymes. ODB didn't write most of his own album. GZA confirmed it himself. Verses he'd written years earlier. Routines from the All In Together Nowadays, before Wu-Tang even existed.
In orbit, while I be coming with deeper and more shit, enough to make you.
Lines from his own Words from a Genius album, he gave them to Dirty, and Dirty took them and made them his own. That verse on Don't You Know, GZA wrote that in high school. Sitting at my class at 9:45 waiting patiently for the class to begin, that's Teenage GZA, performed by ODB 5 years later.
Talk quick, the mics I'm having, my nigga. You can suck my dick if you wanna.
And here's the thing, it worked because ODB had something GZA didn't have on the same level. Personality, charisma, the ability to take somebody else's words and make them feel like they could only come from him. He wasn't the most technical writer, but he was the best performer in the clan, and that energy turned borrowed verses into classics.
I keep MCs looking out. I drop signs like Crosby dropping babies.
Method Man said GZA and ODB got into an argument about it once. GZA told him straight up, most of that shit on your album is mine anyway. But he never made it public, never complained.
Down, then watch me put the low down.
Number 8, I'll Be Missing You, the tribute verse written by someone outside the family. May 1997, 3 months after Biggie's murder, Puff Daddy releases I'll Be Missing You. The tribute built on Sting's Every Breath You Take, Faith Evans on the hook, 112 on backing vocals, and Puff's verse about losing his best friend, except Puff didn't write that verse. Sauce Money did. A Rockefeller affiliate, Jay-Z's guy, and Puff brought him in to write the most personal record of his career. Think about that. The song about mourning Biggie, your day one, your partner, the foundation of your label, and you're hiring someone from outside your camp to write your verse.
Seems like yesterday we used to rock the show. I laced the track, you locked the flow.
The verse hit. The emotion felt real. Puff performed it like he meant every word, and I'll Be Missing You spent 11 weeks at #1. Became one of the biggest songs of the decade. Won a Grammy. But when fans heard Puff pouring his heart out, they thought those were his words, his pain, his tribute. And that's the thing about ghostwriting. It's not just about the bars. It's about the performance selling the illusion that these are your thoughts. Puff made it believable, but Sauce Money wrote it. And here's the kicker.
It's a day that I get closer to seeing you again.
Sting made more money off that record than anyone because Puff forgot to clear the sample properly. So Sting gets 100% of the publishing. Every time it plays, Sting eats. The guy who wrote Puff's verse, he got paid once and moved on. The industry is a cold game. Number 7, Crush on You, when Dipset wrote for Junior Mafia.
I'm Ellen, your Alice. Spend the night and look to C's palace.
1996, Lil Kim's Hardcore drops. And right there in the track list is Crush on You, the playful, colorful counterpoint to all the raw sexuality on the rest of the album. Lil Cease gets his shine with a verse that people still remember. Fun, catchy, perfect for the radio.
It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I gotta.
But here's the secret. Cameron wrote it. Cameron, Harlem's own, future Dipset general. He was grinding in the mid-90s trying to make it, and he got a call from Entertainment CEO Lance Rivera. Gave Cam $30,000 to write Lil Cease's verse, and Cam delivered.
Yo, I be buying B's, so all my girls be eyeing C's.
Wrote the whole thing, handed it over, and Cease performed it on what became one of the album's biggest records. Meanwhile, Cam was still unsigned, still trying to get his own deal, still unknown to most of the world.
He's a slut, he's a hoe, he's a freak. Got a different girl every day.
Think about the irony. Cameron, who would go on to define Harlem hip-hop for a generation, writing for a Brooklyn crew, Dipset providing bars for bad boy affiliates, that's not supposed to happen.
Why you trying to catch sea breeze? I'm in the PVs on Chrome D.
These camps were competitive, different sounds, different energy, but money talks. And $30,000 in 1996 was enough to make it make sense. Cam's been open about it. No shame. He got paid. The verse worked.
Coming backstage, dying to get pleased. You got me, I rock the Versace.
And a few years later, he'd be dropping Confessions of Fire and building his own legacy. But for one moment, his pen powered someone else's career. And if you weren't paying attention to the credits, and let's be honest, nobody was, you never knew.
And I'll be doing things that you won't regret. Little Kim, the queen bee.
Number 6, Getting Jiggy With It. When Illmatic's poets wrote for the Fresh Prince,
What? You on the ball with your kid? Watch your step.
1998, Will Smith is transitioning from sitcom star to movie star to rap star. Big Willie style is on the way, and he needs a single. Something fun, something that'll cross over, something that'll make people forget he's the guy from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and remember he can actually rap.
Getting jiggy with it.
Enter Nas, the same Nas who gave you Illmatic, the same Nas who's considered one of the greatest lyricists in hip-hop history, the same Nas who is building a reputation for complex wordplay and street poetry. And he's writing for Will Smith, Getting Jiggy With It.
On your mark, ready, set, let's go. dance floor pro. I know, you know, I go.
Nas watched Will in the studio, helped him write the verses, and the song became a massive hit. #1 on the Hot 100, kids at school dances, adults at weddings, everywhere. That sample from He's the Greatest Dancer by Sister Sledge, that infectious hook. Will Smith grinning in the video, doing his thing, and nobody knew Nas was behind it. Think about the range. From NY State of Mind to Getting Jiggy With It, from Queensbridge Projects to Hollywood Crossover, that's not selling out, that's getting paid. And Nas was smart enough to know the difference. He also wrote verses for Foxy Brown, for Diddy, for anyone who needed the pen and had the budget. But this one still surprises people, because Will Smith and Nas don't belong in the same sentence unless you're talking about two completely different eras of hip-hop, except they do. Because in 1998, Nas needed money, Will needed bars, and they made it work. Number 5, Harlem World era, when the man who should have blown up first wrote for the man who did. 1993 Harlem. Two kids from the same block playing ball together at Manhattan Center High School. Same crew, same grind, same hunger. Cameron and Mase, before they were Killer Cam and Harlem World, they were just two Harlem niggas trying to figure out the next move together.
And my girl stick around and she know I'm cheating. What? Harlem World.
They formed Children of the Corn. Big L, Mase, Cam, Bloodshed, one of the most talented crews New York never got to fully hear because tragedy hit before the moment came. Then Mase gets discovered at a rap convention in Atlanta.
1 2 1 2, blinky blank, Harlem World. 1 2 1 2.
Puff hears him, signs him on the spot, $250,000 deal with Bad Boy, and just like that, Mase is gone. From Children of the Corn to the biggest label in hip-hop, from Harlem Corners to #1 on the Billboard 200. And Cam stayed back, kept writing, and that's where the story gets quiet. Because in 1997, before Cam had his own deal, he appeared on BET's Rap City. And during that interview, he said, with a straight face, "I do a lot of writing. I'm not going to say who I write for." The interviewer pushed him, and Mase, sitting right next to him, shut it down. Two people in that conversation knew exactly what was happening, and they both agreed to keep the secret on camera.
1 2 1 2, Harlem World, all out. Yo, you wanna trade?
Think about that. In front of the whole culture, on television, and neither one flinched, because that's what loyalty looks like when the money is on the line. Cam was helping build the Harlem World machine, feeding verses into the biggest Bad Boy album of 1997, 4 times platinum, #1 debut, and his name, nowhere on it.
Long time coming, but waiting for my day though. My man Blako, they just seen how this wake.
And here's where it gets complicated. Mase got out, went to the church, left Harlem, and Cam had to grind his way up from the bottom without the same platform, without the same moment. His own debut, Confessions of Fire, came a year later. Same Harlem, different reception. Some people say the pen is mightier than the deal, but in 1997, Mase had both.
In the first place, okay, you caught me. I pack my things, I'll be out of here shortly.
And Cam had just the pen. That gap between having the talent and getting the credit, that's not a hip-hop problem, that's a human one. And if you've ever put your best work into something that made somebody else's name bigger, you already know how that one sits. Number 4, Don Cartagena, the man who made the boss sound like a boss. 1998, The Bronx. Fat Joe is on the come up. He's got Atlantic Records. He's got his own label. He's got a crew called Terror Squad. And inside that crew, he's got a secret weapon so powerful, so far ahead of everyone around him, that Joe himself said the man was a freak of nature. Light years beyond him, a genius. That man was Big Pun. Now here's what the credits don't tell you. When Don Cartagena dropped in 1998, the album that debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200, the album that had Nas, Raekwon, and Jadakiss on it, multiple people inside Terror Squad started talking. A Cuban Link told XXL directly, Big Pun was ghostwriting for Fat Joe, writing verses, writing rhymes, building the record that made Joe a household name. And then when the Terror Squad album generated a $15,000 bonus, Joe kept it. Didn't break bread with Pun, not a percentage, not a thank you. Triple C said the same thing. Pun's widow Liza Rios confirmed it. These aren't strangers with an agenda. These are the people who were in the room. And here's where it hits different. Fat Joe himself said it in his own way without saying it. On the Jay Shetty podcast, he talked about Pun's narcolepsy, how Pun would fall asleep mid-conversation, wake up, grab a notebook, and have a whole song written. He was so much better than me, light years ahead of me, his words, and he meant them. So ask yourself, what does it mean when the man you discovered is so far ahead of you that you need his pen just to keep up? What does it mean when he's writing your verses, building your name, making you look legendary, and the credit and the bonus stays with you? After Pun died in February 2000 at 28 years old, people noticed the quality changed, the sharpness was gone, because the pen that made Don Cartagena what it was gone with him. Fat Joe has denied it, but the people closest to Pun never stopped saying it. And when 3 people from inside the same circle tell the same story, that's not a rumor, that's a receipt. Number 3, Vapors. When Big Daddy Kane built Biz Markie's biggest hit. 1988, technically late 80s, but this story bleeds into the 90s because it set the template for everything that came after. Biz Markie drops Going Off, and the centerpiece is Vapors, one of the most quotable records of the era. I got more juice than Picasso. The whole song about people switching up when you get famous. But Biz didn't write it. Big Daddy Kane did. In fact, Kane wrote the first 5 songs on Going Off, and he was open about it. Told Hip Hop DX years later, writing for Biz wasn't really about having hot rhymes. It was about having something funny. Biz just wanted something funny to say.
Radio, TV, and even the press say what's the meaning of VAPO.
And that's the difference. Biz was the entertainer, the beatboxer, the personality, but he wasn't the writer. Kane was the lyricist, one of the best to ever do it, and he understood that Biz needed content that matched his energy. So he wrote comedy, wrote stories, wrote verses that would make people laugh.
The partner that's calm and plain. He goes by the name of the Big Daddy Kane.
And it worked. Vapors became a classic. People still quote it, still know every word, and Biz Markie became a hip-hop legend off it. But the pen, that was Kane's. Here's what's interesting about this one. Nobody cared. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't scandalous. It was just 2 friends working together. Biz helped Kane become a better performer. Kane helped Biz get better material. That's collaboration. That's how it's supposed to work. But it also set a precedent.
But this is the season of catching the vapors. And since I got time, what I'm going to do.
If one of the most beloved records of the era was ghostwritten, then maybe it didn't matter who wrote it. Maybe the performance was what counted. And that opened the door for everything that came after. All the ghostwriting, all the reference tracks, all the uncredited work. Vapors proved it could work. Number 2, Bad Boys Hitmen, the uncredited production empire that built the sound.
Plans to get my land and my chicks. People out of town don't understand these hits.
1993 to 1999. Bad Boy Records dominates hip-hop. Biggie, Puff, Mase, 112, Total, Faith Evans, hit after hit after hit.
It must be crazy. It's ridiculous how they put their lips on this. Don't kiss right there, girlfriend.
And every time you looked at the credits, you saw the same names producing: Puff Daddy, Stevie J, Chucky Thompson, Derek D. Angeletti. But here's what you didn't see: the full roster of the Hitmen, a collective of producers working behind the scenes, creating the beats, building the sound, and rarely getting full credit for it. Because Puff wanted his name on everything, wanted to be seen as the genius behind the operation. And the Hitmen, they got paid, they got some credit, but they didn't get the fame. This wasn't ghostwriting, this was something different. Systematic credit minimization. Puff's name goes first, always. Even if he didn't touch the MPC, even if he just came in and said add more cowbell or take out that snare, executive producer credit became a way to claim ownership without doing the work, and the Hitmen knew it. Some of them left, started their own careers, but in the mid-90s, if you wanted to work in hip-hop, Bad Boy was the place to be, so you took the deal, you took the reduced credit, and you hoped eventually you'd build your own name.
Tell it to your face, boo, not behind your back. Cash talk slick, we never mind.
The irony, Bad Boy's sound is iconic, instantly recognizable, and it was built by a team, but history remembers Puff because his name was on the label, his face was in the videos, his voice was on the records. The Hitmen built the empire, Puff got the crown.
What you waiting for? Let the freak show begin. How they came in a truck? Nah, Puff, yeah.
Number one, the entire system. When ghostwriting became the industry standard, here's the truth that all these stories point to. The 90s was when ghostwriting stopped being shameful and started being business. Before that, if you got caught using a ghostwriter, your career was over. You were fake, you were fraud. Hip-hop was built on authenticity, on writing your own bars, on proving you had the skill. But the 90s changed everything because the money got too big, the stakes got too high, and the demand for content outpaced what any one artist could produce.
My nigga.
Albums needed 12 tracks, singles needed remixes, features needed verses, and labels needed product. So the industry built a system, a pipeline of writers who would create content for artists who could perform it. And everyone involved agreed to keep it quiet because the illusion was more valuable than the truth.
Take you on the natural high, like a pallet. It be all good, toss your clothes.
Some artists were open about it. Dr. Dre never pretended to write. He was a producer, a curator, a visionary, and he surrounded himself with the best writers in the game. Nobody questioned it because he was up front, but others sold the lie. Claimed every word, took credit for verses they didn't write, and the industry protected them because once you admit one artist uses ghostwriters, people start questioning everyone, and that's bad for business. So the labels, the managers, the publicists, they all agreed to keep it quiet. And the culture shifted slowly, quietly, until having a ghostwriter wasn't a scandal anymore. It was just how things worked. And that's where we are now, in an era where credits list 10 writers on a 3-minute song. Where reference tracks leak and nobody's career ends, where the performance matters more than the pen. The 90s built that system, and these 12 songs, they're proof it was working long before anyone wanted to admit it.